Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. So the chakra is an energy center in your body. There are many different ones, 7 primarily in our bodies. And we've been, every time we get together, talking about each chakra every single time, like going to more depth than just skimming over all 7 of them. She knows all about it. She's back with us from Satya Yoga, and she is Frankie Hart. Welcome back, Frankie. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve, and I'm excited to continue our series.
Yeah, I've learned so much, and I thought I knew a fair amount, not a ton about it, because I've never heard anybody do this where you go into depth on each individual chakra. Today, don't tell me, I'm going to try and remember. We're up to the 6th chakra.
Absolutely.
And if there are 7, 7 would be up here. So that would put us right here, which would be the third eye.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Tell us about the third eye. Why is it so important? What can it tell us?
Yes. Well, interesting phrase there. So the third eye chakra is called the Ajna chakra, and it is the seat of our intuition, our inner knowing, our imagination. And, we started the series by talking about the chakras as these energy centers that both attract information to us. So we receive energy through the chakras, but we're also transmitting. So the energy centers are both receivers and transmitters of energy, but also information of different types. And here at the third eye chakra, we are doing that more than ever. In the third eye chakra, we're leaving some of the more physical aspects of our existence out. Those are integrated in the lower chakras. So here we're focusing more on what we could think of as esoterical or spiritual aspects of our being. So when we think of shamans and psychics and seers, these are people who have successfully opened their third eye chakra to receive information. But what I want to help us understand is that every one of us are intuitive, and every one of us are incredibly imaginative, and our lives are deeply, deeply enriched when we open to receiving information from our own inner self, our own inner guru or teacher.
I believe the same exact thing, Frankie, that we have intuition. Some of us are able to fine tune more, or maybe it's not even just fine tuning, block out the other stuff, the noise of life, all the stuff around us, so that you can focus on whatever message or whatever feeling that you're getting. When you have a gut feeling, we've mentioned that
Yes.
before, does that come from another chakra, or is that also connected to the third eye chakra?
Beautiful. So when we talk about the third eye, what I really want to help our listeners understand today is that it's not just the sense of insight, right? Although it very much is, right? I love that word, insight. This is third eye, right? But it's all the senses. So we might receive information through seeing something or hearing something or feeling something. There are so many ways that this information gets transmitted to us. And I just want to touch on what you said about quieting the mind. It's really important. So the way to open the third eye, one, is to focus on that quietness, on that sense of peaceful self within, and no longer tune into all of the distractions, especially things that feel negative to us. So in some of the earlier podcasts, I talked about like changing the channel. So if we try to block negative thoughts or block overwhelming thoughts or that cluster of thoughts that just clutter up the mind space, we just make them bigger. So what we want to do is tune our mind by consciously focusing to something. And here is where the practice of meditation really comes in play. So if I have a regular meditative practice, even if it's walking in nature, right? Or knitting, right? It could be those things, as well as a more classical form of meditation following the breath. But all of these quiet the mind. And when we quiet the mind, we start to hear those inner messages that have been there all along. And that's one reason why children, and if we can remember our time as children, we tend to be more closely in touch with that inner voice.
Well, certainly as a child, you don't have all the other stuff to worry about. You're not worrying about a
Exactly.
mortgage, rent, car payments, job, and all of that. So
Yes.
there's less. And I say the same thing. Children, similar to dogs and cats and animals, where they're not worrying about that stuff. So they're more focused and call it intuitive or can pick up on our energy. How many
Hmm.
times do we say,
Hmm.
I swear, my dog knows what I'm thinking?
That's right. That's
Probably
right.
does. Probably
And
does.
and I think that's because they're paying attention.
Yes.
So, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the heart chakra. And Steve, one of the things that I often think is that the number one form of a gift of love to another is just paying attention, showing up and
Mhm.
really paying attention. When someone really sees us, we feel loved, and our animals, like you said, do that for us so beautifully, because they're not so distracted by all the other things. And they actually really prioritize that connection with us. Whereas we might, no matter how much we love our loved ones, we might be rushing home, caught up in stress from the job, caught up in work we still have to do when we get home. We don't even really see our loved ones as we walk in the house, right? Let alone take time to curl up to them and say, pet me.
Mhm.
Right? But our animals say, hey, I don't care you're busy thinking right now. I'm going to brush against your leg and I'm going to bark a little and I'm going to purr on your lap and I'm going to make you say, oh, you're here. And they don't get offended when we don't give them that attention right away. They're persistent. And I think that's pretty amazing.
You bring up two thoughts, and I just heard this fairly recently. When your dog, sometimes even a cat, when you see them shake,
Yeah.
my thought was that, oh, wait, they're shaking because their fur is just like, that's not like it's in it, not in the right position that they want it to be. But somebody who is an animal communicator, somebody who's intuitive said, no, 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 no. They're shaking off a certain kind of energy. That's how they
Mhm.
get rid of, call it bad energy or whatever energy they don't want with them at that time. And another thought in terms of listening, I have a friend met in the last 6 months, and I'll be talking with her and I'll say something, and then there'll be a pause. And it's almost in the beginning, it was awkward.
Yeah.
It
A
was
little
awkward,
unnerving, right? The
unnerving. Like,
quietness. Yeah.
it, how come she's not responding? Because she was listening, retaining, and then responding with something very perverse or very just insightful, picked up on,
Yes.
was thinking about it. And
Yes.
I got used to it. And it's
Yes,
a good thing.
that that quiet space is so powerful. It's so powerful, and it is a kind of intimacy. When I last Friday for Valentine's Day, I did a partner's relaxation yoga class, and we started with our partner just standing a few inches away from each other with our eyes closed. And just being in that space, even though many of the people in
Hmm.
the room were with people, their romantic partners that they've been with for years, just being there quietly standing with our eyes closed is an act of intimacy that often we don't have in our day-to-day life, right? Where I'm just showing up and I'm just showing up being here. I'm really getting present with myself, and then I'm going to really get present with you. And I'm not going to ask anything from you. I'm just going to be here. It's really amazing, isn't it?
How amazing that that is so simple. But when you think about it and that connection with that person, your eyes are closed, you can even feel their heat
Yes,
and their energy. I mean,
yes.
not to say that the wine and chocolate pairing I did over the weekend was bad, but
Of
I like
course.
your idea too.
Yes. And, even people, and this brings us right into the chakras because this auric field or the energetic field is, linked with our chakras. And even people who might be like, I have no idea what you're talking about there, Frankie, chakras, but we have this sense of our personal space. And we know when someone has entered into that personal space. And we know when we like it and we know when we don't like it. And so I always like to remind people that that is a sense of them feeling the energetic space around them. And I want to build
Yeah.
on something you said because we tend to do really well with the songs, but when you're talking about the dog shaking it off, there's nobody like Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah. Take it off.
That is a great song, actually. She's got it right in that song. Just, the haters are gonna hate, 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 so shake it off. And
I
I
can't
just
believe you said
love
that.
that.
I was just talking with somebody the other day. Oh my gosh, yesterday, and I couldn't remember the title of that song. And I worked at a radio station where they edited out the haters are going to hate, blah, blah, blah. It was like, it was, call it Taylor rapping, if you want to call it that.
Uh-huh.
And they took it out. And I'm like, why'd you take that out? That's like the best part of the whole song. That's
It
why she's shaking
really
it off.
Exactly. And it's so beautiful because, even as adults, we need to hear that. But I taught in a performing arts high school. And so I was with teenagers. But I thought for teenagers to hear that, like to not care, it's okay. Other people say or think of these things, even if it's about me, and it's okay. I can just shake it off and I can go on being me. And that's really what we were
Mm.
celebrating last week in the throat chakra, about being free to be yourself, being free to express your authentic self, right?
We're talking about music. We're going to get back to the third eye chakra in a moment. However, over the weekend, Britney Spears put up a post on Instagram. And, either you love her, you hate her. She's been going through some challenges here and there. Some people say she's a little out there sometimes. Her post was something to the effect of practicing gratitude will raise your vibrational frequency. And that came from
Absolutely.
Britney Spears.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is key. That is key. And, so let's build on that, Steve. So if I'm practicing gratitude, not only am I experiencing gratitude, but now here my third eye chakra is a transmitter that is sending the vibration, this higher vibration of gratitude out into the world. That's a gift to the world. And then amazingly, the law of attraction, then this vibration of gratitude starts showing up more in my life. And so
Mhm.
now I'm starting to live at this higher level of vibration because I'm not only transmitting it, but I'm also receiving it, right?
Mm.
And I want to share this quote of Abraham Hicks. Worrying is using your imagination to create something you don't want.
Say that one more time. I want to make sure I got it.
Worrying Worrying is using your imagination, which is the power of the third eye chakra, to create something you don't want. Right? So
Yeah.
we really want to think about what we think about, and not intensely. Very, like I always like to say it with a lot of lightheartedness, because we can really make this very somber and very dark and start to watch very carefully what we think. But we really want to be playful with it. We want to listen with a kind of lightheartedness. And here's another one. The image of where you are going has to be more dominant than the image of where you are right now.
So I'm a believer in making sure you focus on the present.
Uh-huh.
Very
Yes.
important, the present. That
Beautiful.
kind of sort of goes a little bit against it in terms of where you're
I love
going.
this. I love what we're doing here.
That's the
Absolutely.
future.
So, right. So here's the thing. I sometimes imagine, like in my backyard, I have these beautiful stepping stones. And you could think of the stepping stone pathway, that the past, the immediate past is that step that you've just left, right? And the present is where you are right now, where your feet are right now. But we are dynamic, Steve, and we are alive. And because we're dynamic and because we're alive, we're always evolving and growing. And so what really turns us on is about to take that next step. And so what are we creating, right? And so I, number one, have to be very comfortable and accept where I am right now. But then as I am, you and we're creators. Every person on the planet is a creator. So I want to create consciously this next moment. And that doesn't mean I'm like an architect drawing it all out, or a playwright drawing it all out. It means I'm open. It means I'm open and receptive to the next moment. So if we really like where we are right now, it works great, Steve, right? And you don't have to do anything. You just enjoy it, right? If you're loving, if bliss is the name of the game right now, you just ride that all the way out to the bank, But often in life we have conditions that we don't like, the conditions that we want to push against, conditions that we want to complain about, conditions that are painful. And what we can do then is just kind of mire down in that. And what the third eye chakra is saying, hey, be where you are right now. Be here now, like Ram Dass says, and accept where you are right now, because that's the only place that you can step from, right? So if you're not grounded in where you are, it's very difficult to take the next step. But use this brilliant power of your imagination to build the future, to build your own future, to build your own life, right? And also the third eye chakra is a gift, right? Because when we start to really tune into our imagination and tune into our insight, we each are so unique that we start to tap into the unique gifts that we have brought to the planet. And these gifts can benefit people we don't even know. I watched the film 13 Lives yesterday, and wow, I really recommend it to people. So here, those, the 12 boys and their coach are in those caves in Thailand. They could have been in there, they were there 10 days, I think it was, before they had any food or contact from any other living being. And when the guys first found them, they asked them how they were able to like be okay. And their coach, the boys said their coach taught them to meditate. And the little boy says, because fear is a construct of the mind. This is third eye chakra. This is
Wow.
third eye chakra. Powerful. And what I want to share with our audience is that we each find ourselves at times in our life in those kind of caves where we don't think anyone's coming. And actually, it might even be against all odds that anyone would come, right? There are things that we face sometimes that, people, rightfully so, if they just look at statistics, could throw in the towel. But the third eye chakra says, no, 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 no. Open to your imagination, open. And it's not about having all the answers, right? Like those boys and that coach in that cave, they did not know how to get out. The best scientists in the world, the most wealthiest people in the world didn't know how to get them out. It was just one contribution of a person after another person after another person, and a couple guys really willing to go out on a limb and try something really radical, right? That saved their lives. And so for ourselves, when we feel we have to have the answers, right? I want to say, when we turn into the third eye chakra and we're listening for that insight, it's not like, oh, I'm meditating and all of a sudden the voice from above comes and says, do this or go here or do that. But what we do is we open the mind to receiving information. And this is not just through sight, but through all of our senses. So we receive information, energy comes in waves and particles, right? So you can think of the information coming through the senses as maybe particles. And this is like your Amazon package has showed up on your doorstep, right? So this particle of information comes to you. Maybe you hear it, or you see it, or you sense something. You might not even know what this means, but you're open to reflect on it. You're open to pay attention. Over time, we start to get an understanding of that. And it isn't that we have to understand or know the solution first. So here's a really simple meditation that I want to share. Say you have a conflict, say with it's another person, let's start there, and you just don't know your way out of it. You've tried everything you know. You can just quiet yourself and concentrate a little bit at the third eye chakra. Although I do not want people who are not experienced in meditating to look up. You want to keep your eyes level or lower when you're meditating. You don't want all the energy to rise up into your head,
Can you just
especially
close
if you're
your
new.
eyes? Can you just close your
Absolutely.
eyes? Okay.
Even though with the eyes closed, right? So just
Mm.
very soft with the eyes reflecting inward. And just reflect on this meditation. I want what's best for the person you have conflict with. I want what's best for our relationship. And I want what's best for myself. And then just like release it, like a message in a bottle to the ocean, right? We release that energetically. It's not that we know the answer, but we put that out there. This is a message transmitting from the third eye, and then we relax and are willing to receive information. I've done that in work situations. What's best for me, what's best for my studio, and what's best for another person. When you don't know what is the right way to go. And the beautiful thing is, Steve, is the universe comes up with the most amazing solutions. Things that,
Mm.
it certainly wasn't as complex as the 13 lives, but things that were out of my ability to rationally conceive of.
When you say SOS, we talked about music before. I think
Yes.
of Sting and the Police and sending a message in a bottle. It's called Message
Yeah.
in a Bottle, and it's called sending out an SOS. And
Hmm.
essentially, he thinks he's alone,
Hmm.
and then says, "Walked out this morning, and what did I see? 100 million bottles washed up from the sea." So is everybody else doing the same exact thing,
Exactly.
sending out an SOS?
Exactly. Yeah.
So now, when
And, can I jump on that,
yeah,
Steve?
please.
Because so that's a packet of information right there, right? And so we could say, oh, look, everyone's miserable.
Well,
Or, no, no, wait, I want to build on this, right? Or we could say, this very information, this very same information gives me insight that I'm bonded with all of humanity. I'm human, they're human, and we connect, we bind, and we find love through this very shared experience, right? And I know that's what you're bringing to us today, and that's beautiful, right? So that which we could perceive in one way as a negative, when we really get centered with ourselves, we start to realize, oh my gosh, there's an amazing silver lining here.
and when I used to hear the song back in the day, I thought it was a cry for help. And maybe there's a little despair there, but just like we're saying, you
Yeah.
can find comfort in even just that meditation. Get a conflict with somebody and you send it off on an SOS. And guess what? Other people are doing the same exact thing, maybe in a different way. I want to go back real quick. And I don't want to take a lot of time because I definitely want to get back on the third eye chakra.
Hmm.
But when you talked about the next step in your life, looking toward like we talk about, it's so important to be centered. And
Yes.
if you look toward the future, a lot of time there's worry.
Yes.
How's it going to go? What's going to happen? Is it reasonable to say or think that or feel that you're just going outside of the present? You're not looking way over here. You're looking over here at whatever the solution is, whatever your next step is, whatever that is, um, to minimize any kind of worry? Or do we not, we only embrace the things that we're not going to worry about? So only think about the
Mm.
positive stuff. What it's Monday. I'm thinking about Friday, what I'm doing Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of only looking to the future for the positive stuff.
Yeah. So um, if if we're if we're thinking about something that's unpleasant, but we know what to do about it, right? Then we can quickly shift to, oh, oh, this has happened before, whatever. Say your sink is leaking. Oh, why is my sink leaking? Oh,
Mhm.
I know what to do. I'm going to call the plumber. I feel a sense of satisfaction. I've completed that. I've solved that. I feel good. Oh, wow, look, it's going to be better than ever.
Yep. Yep.
Right? Then, so you move through it. But when we have a condition that we don't know where to go with it, that's the sticky ones, right? So those are the ones you don't want to sit in and over focus. Like when people think of meditation as sitting with their emotions, it's not sitting with your miserable emotions, right? That does not help you or anyone else, right? It's like, okay, we can acknowledge, and we certainly do. It's also not pushing anything under the carpet. I can acknowledge I have some sadness right now, but then I can acknowledge that there is me who's feeling the sadness, and who am I? And what else am I in the experience? What else am I experiencing right now? Oh, I'm also experiencing my breath. Like the boys, I could experience fear, but if I experience my breath, that you talked about, focus on breathing in and breathing out. Ah, now I'm not afraid anymore because my mind cannot focus on both at the same time. My mind cannot both be in a state of worry and in a state of positive anticipation at the same time.
Hmm.
So, how far in the future to look? Some people are going to feel really comfortable when they're in a tricky situation or a painful situation to look 10 years out. They're going to be like, 10 years from now, I think anything is possible. I believe that's possible. Then look out there. Some people are going to be like 10 years out. I can't even imagine. That's so stressful. I just want to think about tomorrow, or I just want to think about Friday. That's perfect, because the key is to get in, some people would call it the zone, some people would call it the vortex, to get in a relaxed and peaceful state, because in that state, everything changes. That your body chemistry changes, your mind changes, how it can open, your thoughts become calmer and clearer. We were talking about heart before the podcast, how your heart is functioning changes. And because that changes, your thought patterns and your energy patterns will also change.
I really
The
believe that once you
Yeah,
get in the habit of doing that, it's just automatic. Like if you talked to me 5 years ago and there was a conflict situation came up, I'd be like,
yeah.
what do I do? Oh, yeah, not good. Yeah, I was, chronic worrier, call it that. Just
Absolutely, and many of us are. I certainly was, and also a chronic warrior and passionate problem solver. I have to have the solution right now, and if I don't have the solution, then I'm not a good enough person, right? And so understanding uh, that having the solution right now is not what it's about. Sometimes we learn so
yes.
much in the process of not knowing, right?
Hmm.
Right?
I call it quiet calm. When that
Hmm.
happens for that moment, 2, 5, whatever, you're like, "Oh, yeah." And then I'm like, let it go,
Yeah,
let it go. And I know
yeah.
it sounds a little, maybe cocky in a way, but it's just like, no, it's going to work out. Do the right thing. It's all going to flow. It's going to be
There,
okay.
There's a new series on Apple TV called Shrinking. I don't know if you've heard about it, but Harrison Ford,
That's an odd title depending on how you look at that, but keep going.
yes, it's called Shrinking. So they're about psychotherapists, and
Ah,
Harrison Ford is playing a psychotherapist who is has been diagnosed with he's losing capability, mind capability, body capability. And
hmm.
he gives himself 15 minutes a day to grieve. And it's really quite beautiful. Like it's meant to be, lighthearted in this moment, but also very, very poignant. And he literally sets a timer and he just does everything he wants to do to grieve. And then he hits the timer and he says, okay, now I'm on with my life. And
It's got to be
and I
like, he's crying, he's upset. Boop. All right, great. What are we going to do
because
next?
he wants to live. He wants to go on living rather than go on dying while he's still alive, right?
Wow.
And so the pose, the asana that's associated with the third eye chakra is Shirshasana, which is headstand. And in headstand, the headstand stimulates both the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which govern all of the body's processes and the mind, right? So when we feel foggy, when we feel unclear, when we feel scattered in our thinking, headstand can be a really beautiful practice to start to bring that clarity of focus to us.
Hmm. We're out of time, and I would like to go on forever with the
I
third eye
know, I
chakra.
know.
I think
Let me
it's one
give
of my
you,
favorite.
third eye chakra is amazing. And I wanted so share this meditation for people this week. So this will be a simple breathe in and breathe out. So breathing in, I am guided, and breathing out, I am at peace. And this is so powerful, Steve, because maybe you feel lost in the woods, right? Or lost in the caves. You don't know how to get out. You could panic. You could feel uh, angry or resentful. You could feel abandoned. Or you could get quiet and trust that within, and that trust is building on the third chakra, isn't it? But trust that we have this inner guidance. This inner guidance, this is you. This is your deepest self talking and guiding you. And that can lead you to wonders that you couldn't even have imagined before. So when I often ask my students when we're working with something that's very challenging in their life, I often ask, are you open to using your imagination? Are you open? And this is what third eye chakra is about. Can we activate? Can we constantly, not constantly, consciously choose to open our mind to using our imagination and to listening to our intuition?
So it's I am guided and I am at peace.
I am at peace. Yeah.
It almost goes back to what I said a while ago. One of my favorite mantras, phrases in the past year I've
Yeah,
learned, all I need is within me now.
absolutely.
So you are guided. Who's
Absolutely.
guiding you? You. It's all
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And maybe we're saying the same thing in different ways, and
We
which is
are.
super cool. Oh, I said before, like the quiet calm, where it's like I'm at peace, with
Yeah.
conflict. It's just like gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. I don't worry about it. It's gonna all
And
work
if
itself out.
if we build this into relationships, then all I need is inside me now. Beautiful. And then I show up as a whole person, ready to have a relationship with you as a whole person. Wow.
Mm.
Now some magic is really going to happen, right? Now we really thrive together and we create communities that are just, powerful life supporting communities for each other.
Got to keep repeating that. I am guided and I'm at peace. Your website, tell everybody if they want to reach out to you, learn some more, where do they go?
Wonderful. SatyaLifeYoga.com and it's Satya Life, Satya, Life, Life.com. They can also email info@satyalife.com or give us a call or text at 863-802-YOGA.
And going back to music for just a moment, I think I mentioned this a long time ago, but there's a band that had a song called Semi Charmed Life and a few other ones back in the 90s. The band's called Third Eye Blind. And I never got it. What is this third eye? That was back then. Now I get it. Hopefully you're not third eye blind and you're
Yes,
plugged into that, right?
absolutely. And okay, let's just end the show with one number one third eye chakra song. John Lennon, Imagine,
Oh, that is a
right?
good one. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think, people today, younger generation in their 20s, they love this song. I mean, he really tapped into some part of us that wants to imagine always that we're moving the world forward. We're always moving the world forward if we want to be.
Super cool. And I'm going to riff on another song. Can I?
Go, oh, please. I love it.
Because you mentioned Lennon, so Beatles, and I was never, when I was younger, I was never a huge Beatles fan. I don't know why. Way more appreciation now.
Mhm.
And Let It Be.
Oh, yeah.
There will be an
Oh, yeah.
answer. And that
Yep.
popped in my head when I needed an answer. Yeah, like 2 weeks
Perfect.
ago. It really did.
Absolutely.
And I got the answer. And I got the
And
answer.
see, Steve, that's exactly what we're talking about. Put it out there
I
and then
did.
relax and let
And
it be.
and I did. And I got
And it
the answer.
comes.
Big answer 30 minutes later with a phone call. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
That answers all of that. But that song dropped, downloaded into my head. I'm like, what? Let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. But
Do you realize, Steve, when you just said downloaded, our current generation, that's so computer focused, we have this language, something downloaded into our mind, right? This is exactly how we receive information in the third eye chakra. We don't know how, it just came. We say we downloaded it. 50 years ago, it's funny, they didn't have that phrase, but we use this phrase so naturally right now. And I think it's really, really beautiful because it gives us language to talk about something that in some ways can seem very esoteric.
yeah, that's I never thought of it that way. And when you do, if you want to analyze it, download it, it came down and loaded.
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
did it come from? I always picture it's coming from, a higher point, light, whatever. Wow. Yeah, we're really over, but it's all good. Frankie, it's always fantastic talking with you. Always learn so
Thank you.
much. And yeah, on with the countdown. So next week we're back to the final chakra of all
That's
chakras,
right. Crown
right?
chakra.
Awesome. All right. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Thank you. Same to you and
Thanks.
namaste.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.